Hello, and welcome to Super Turbo 64. I'm Jeff, and I'm here with Jason, and we're just two folks here to talk about video games.
You scared the shit out of me. I was doing like the countdown, about to give you the signal, and then, hello! You know, it's funny, because like, I was thinking this earlier, it's just like, man, I always do the intro. I should give Jeff the intro one of these days.
I know, I thought I'd take it by force.
Exactly. Good for you. I appreciate your enthusiasm for the intro.
I hope I scared every listener as well.
Well, I mean, once, like, when this is in the editing phase, you know, it's going to have the music going, so I don't think we're going to have any jump scares, but, you know.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, well. What are you going to do?
I don't know. Maybe I'll, maybe in post, I'll just really make your hello just obscenely loud.
Yeah.
And then everything else at normal volume.
I think, everybody is going to love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah, I see no way in which that could backfire.
How's life, Jace?
It's going good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good, good.
Yeah. How's the video game life? What you been playing?
You know, the video game life has treated me very well. The other day, yeah, like over the weekend, I beat Fallen Order. Which was a phenomenal experience.
Yeah.
You know, I pretty much, you know, I loved almost my entire time with the game. You know, save for like one kind of problem area and also a particular boss fight, which, you know, we're not going to get into.
Yeah, because we're planning on doing a How Did You Like Fallen Order?
Yep, because Jeff, you played Fallen Order. It's actually, if I'm not mistaken,
about a year ago now.
Yeah. If I'm remembering right, you were playing Fallen Order on probably one of the very first episodes we recorded.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
you were in the thick of a Star Wars kick.
That's right.
You know, which you know, I'm probably getting into the very beginnings of a Star Wars kick.
Oh yeah.
You know,
ramping up slow.
A little bit. Yeah, Fallen Order kind of really got me into, you know, thinking about what this next Star Wars kick, the shape it will take, you know?
You know, at the end of my last Star Wars kick, I ended up buying that massive omnibus of the
new Marvel Comics Star Wars, which is great. Like it's a great series.
I read the first, before, not this time I bought it, but I borrowed your copy.
I had maybe the first couple volumes, you know.
Anyhow, I didn't read it. You know, it is taking up some massive real estate on my bookshelf, but it's sitting there waiting to be read.
It kind of looks like one of those really big coffee table books right now. You know? It's about that like size, because it's,
I don't know, like
the
coffee table, I always think of like the flat books that are like super big, and then so you crack them open and they're like,
I guess,
a big picture of a leaf or something.
Yep,
you know?
I suppose so.
But this one is more thick.
It is,
with several C's.
Yep, it's humongo.
So I'm hoping that I get around to reading that.
Yeah,
eventually.
maybe when your next Star Wars kick comes around.
I know. I still haven't watched season 2 of Mando.
Yeah, there was this really funny thing. Jerry Seinfeld has this bit about, you know, people not wanting to lose their appetite, and he's like, "It's fine. You'll always have another appetite."
Yeah,
and so it's the same thing. You will always have another Star Wars kick that shows up. You know?
Yeah, eventually.
Because it's like, you know, I didn't say I really had a bit of, like, a Star Wars kick when I was watching Mandalorian. I'm just watching it. You know? But after Mandalorian, kind of made me want to play Fallen Order. And then after Fallen Order, then it's the Star Wars kick.
Okay.
But after I beat Fallen Order, I started playing a game that has kind of been on my radar for a little while. It's called Ys.
And that's spelled
YS. Yeah. It's so like the company that makes that, it's the same company that does the Trails games that I've talked about multiple times on the show. And it's like, in kind of my thinking about it, you know, one's Mario and one's Zelda, you know, for this company.
Okay.
It's just like their two big flagship series.
Yeah.
And Ys is, I don't know, it's, each game is kind of its own self-contained adventure. You know, so
Okay.
you can play them really in any order, which is why I'm able to play number 8 and be,
Okay.
not utterly confused as to what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you play as this adventurer guy who is sailing. He's like working as a sailor to pay for his passage, and the ship is attacked by a giant sea monster. And you wake up on this island, which is kind of like a, Bermuda Triangle sort of thing. It's got this real sinister reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And the game is you exploring this island, finding other castaways, building up like your little community. And yeah, it's got really phenomenal action and gameplay, and it's probably has one of the best feedback loops of any RPG I've ever played. Just everything feeds into each other so well and so naturally. It's been a blast to play.
And you're playing this on PS4?
I am. Yeah, you can get it on PS4 and the Switch. Biggest reason I got it on the PS4 was it runs a little smoother.
Okay.
And for a game that has, really fast and frantic action.
So, okay.
I figured, the extra FPS would probably be good for me.
So it's like an action
it
JRPG?
Is. Yep. It has really fast and smooth combat.
That's cool.
It's a good time. I've been really, really enjoying it. It's been a really long time since I played a game. Usually I'm playing like 2 or 3 games at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the only times in a long time where I've just been playing, one.
Yeah.
The game has been able to just kind of satisfy so many things.
Well, that's cool. Is it like how do you compare it to Animal Crossing?
I mean,
deserted island.
Yes.
One is fraught with monsters and danger.
Mm-hmm.
And one is east, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's like, you get to build up basically just this tiny village, so nowhere near the amount of, thing that you would have for your island on, say, Animal Crossing. But there is sort of this element where you get to see the village develop throughout the course of the game. And you get that kind of nice satisfaction.
Okay.
The same kind that you would in Animal Crossing, even though the kind of the crafting and customization is a little bit different.
Gotcha.
No, it's
so crafting. You say customization. Yep. Does it have like a survival element, or is it mostly it's just JRPG?
It's more on the JRPG side. I mean, you are finding, ingredients for stuff all throughout your time exploring, and that's stuff that you're able to upgrade your gear with, upgrade and fortify the defenses for the village, and get different accessories. I don't know. It all kind of, like I said, it all feeds into each other. Okay. Which is, very, very engaging.
And the story has been pretty engaging as well.
Yeah. It's done a few things where, the story was pretty simple for a good chunk of the time. It's basically just a story of, survival and finding other castaways and basically trying to find your way off the island. But as the game's progressed, it's got this thing now where, you're kind of you're learning more about the island. Mm-hmm. You find out about a lost civilization on it. You find out about, like, the groups that have been marooned on this island over the years. I don't know, and it's just like, none of these story points overstay their welcome, so you're always kind of bouncing around. Gotcha. Just kind of like how, a really well-paced book will switch perspectives, and you just always are wanting to see what goes on in the next chapter.
How long ago did this game come out?
I want to say, because it originally came out on the Vita, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that may have been like 2014-ish. Yeah. It's an older thing. I think it got its PS4 port maybe in 17 or 18. Okay. So it's been out for a little while. Sure. The newest East game only came out in the States, within this last year. Okay.
Nice, yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Sounds like it's a very varied game.
Yeah.
Got a lot of... what game would you say the action combat is most like?
The kind of the pacing and the mobility of it kind of reminds me of Nier Automata.
Okay.
It does kind of have its own thing because enemy types kind of have a rock, paper, scissors sort of thing, and so members of your party excel at going against certain enemies.
Okay.
So you're always swapping between party members and...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool.
It could also be like those really big hack and slash games like Dynasty Warriors.
Sure.
Yeah, because there's a lot of enemies, you know?
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, super fun.
Nice.
Now, how about you? What have you been playing?
You would happen to know that I managed to snag a PlayStation 5.
You did. I mean, I think last episode we were talking about your woes in finding one, and I feel like maybe a day or two after we recorded the episode, you're just
I got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was taking a nap on the couch, and the phone woke me up from the notification, and this GameStop is selling PS5, so I'm like, fine, I'll buy one.
Yeah, I guess.
No, I sat there refreshing the page and stuff. It worked out. I got a disc version.
Nice. That's probably the route that we're gonna go to.
Mm-hmm. They both have the same amount of storage. Both, like a disc version of a game and a digital version of a game, are gonna take up the same amount of space.
Okay.
But just being able to share games and have like buy used games and stuff like that.
Exactly.
It's gonna save some cash eventually, and plus, being able to play my old PS4 games without having to turn on the PS4 is nice.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been playing Demon Souls.
Nice.
I've been playing Call of Duty with Tyler. I've been playing freaking Crash Bandicoot.
Said with love.
Oh yeah, real love. No, I've never had a history with the Crash Bandicoot games, but I watched somebody stream the fourth game for a bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this looks fun. Oh, hey, there's like 19 games that come for free, so to speak, if you buy the PlayStation Plus with if you have PlayStation Plus, like, you get to play 19 different PS4 games, some major hits like Last of Us and God of War and stuff like that. And included in that was the Insane Trilogy.
Yes, so the remastered trilogy of the original 3 Crash Bandicoot games.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but just as you were... It's funny that, between a Souls-like game and Crash Bandicoot, the one that is frustrating you to no end is Crash Bandicoot.
I used to think I was good at platforming games, and then Crash Bandicoot reared its orange head.
Yep.
I'm looking for every little excuse that I can be like, well, the game, like, it's got Unreal, like, hitboxes on the turtles, like, I can't believe that I jumped on that freaking lizard's head and then I automatically walked backwards off the platform. What the hell?
You're trying to find a good reason to say that the game is broken.
Yeah, I'm a scrub.
Yes.
That's what's happening.
Yes.
I'm a Crash Bandicoot scrub. But I just tweeted, he nerded yesterday, that this is what hell looks like, and it's a picture from the stage, the high road, in which you have to jump along a bridge, and on this bridge are little turtles.
Okay.
And you need to, like, not land on the broken planks, and then you just use the turtles as massive trampolines to get across, and
just basic bridge stuff.
Yeah, it is suffering. It is. I love to hate it.
Now, is this still in the first Crash Bandicoot game?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have not made it to game 2. I did just beat that level this afternoon. I don't need your sympathy claps.
You'll get them anyway.
No, I don't know. It's a bad sign when a level just gives you 2 lives at the second you start it up. Like you stand next to 2 heart or like little crash heads, and
it's just you're gonna have trouble here, pal.
I don't know. So Crash Bandicoot, it's fun. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. It's the Dark Souls of platforming games.
Interesting.
I often wonder when I'm playing, I'm like, is this what it's like when somebody's never played an old Mario game and they start an old Mario game?
Right, yeah, because I played a little bit of one of the Crash Bandicoot games, on the original PlayStation, but I was always more into Spyro, for my 3D platforming needs.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I definitely remember it being difficult, and that frustration of you're just running along and you maybe just press the input to do your spin attack a tiny bit too late.
Yeah. And
the tip of your sneaker touches an enemy and you're dead.
You're dead, exactly.
That's
There's no HP. There's most of the levels are on a plane of some kind, of whether it's like going left to right or up and down,
Yep.
And so, you would think there's no room for error, but once in a while, if you're using the stick especially, you can get off that plane and you're like, oh, I didn't jump on the bird. Excuse me, but instead you stub your little sneaker, like you said.
And I don't know if, just because I don't even remember which of the Crash Bandicoot games I played.
Sure.
And so I don't really know, how different 1 through 3 is from each other.
I'm worried that they're all like one right now. I've been tempted to look at 2.
Sure.
And see if it's merciful.
Yeah. It could be like, the early Mario games where they're, difficult, but they kind of are varied.
Yeah. 1, 2, and 3 are all very different from each other,
Yeah. And I mean, Spyro 1, 2, and 3, I really won't say they're that different from each other.
Oh, yeah.
They all kind of focus on you, going into a level and collecting a thing,
Mm-hmm.
So, and I can't really say that one is, exponentially more difficult than the other. They're all fairly forgiving,
Yeah.
So
and
I wish I could offer you some Bandicoot solace, but I don't think I can.
Yeah. Some fraternity.
Exactly.
No, I think this is a Australian road that one must tow alone. I definitely screwed that up. But it's my road to hoe, right? That's what
there it is.
Is it? Do they say road or road to hoe? But anyway,
I have no idea.
What's more important is Crash sucks. Don't ever play it. And if you're a Crash fan, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it happened to you. You must have had a rough childhood.
Yeah, who hurt you? This is coming from the guy who replayed Getting Over It
50 times. I played that game 50 times. And probably a little... I think I've beaten it at least one more time afterward, just for fun.
Just for fun.
It's... that game, there's no enemies, There's no toe to stub. No, I'm mostly joking about Crash Bandicoot.
Right.
Mostly.
Now, but Demon Souls.
It's a much easier game. No, it's something else.
Yeah.
It is very similar and very different than Dark Souls in some ways, well, I guess you would say it's 80% similar to Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Like it's there's a tutorial area, which is
Really?
interesting. So you start off, and you're just crushing these poor little like brainless soldiers. And then you get, at least I got one tapped by the boss of the tutorial area. And then you come back to life as a soul in the Nexus. And there's 5 regions that you can access. But first, like, they make you do the first region's first boss before you can access the rest of it.
Okay.
And
but after that, you're kind of free to explore it how you want.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Each world has a tendency, they call it, which is it's more of like how if you manage to regain your human form and then die, or if you like kill NPCs for no reason, you make the world turn into like a dark tendency, and the world becomes harder. So yes, you heard me right. If you die too many times, the world gets harder.
That's
good
design.
Game design.
That's really
exactly.
good game design.
It's
like every time you stub your toe on Crash Bandicoot, your toe gets bigger until your feet are just so huge you will stub them on something half the level away.
It's funny, in Dark Souls 2, this is something they brought back from Demon Souls.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. They every time you die in Dark Souls 2, your health bar gets smaller.
Yeah, right.
And it can go all the way down to half capacity.
Okay.
And you can use an item to get your health bar back.
Okay.
In Demon Souls, you die once and your health bar is at half capacity.
Oh, cool.
And like I said, the end of the tutorial section, you get one tapped by a boss. And so until you beat the first boss of the game, you're at half capacity for your health bar. And the game
cool.
It's a great game. I love it. It's I would say it has uneven difficulty because the first boss is easy. There is one mini boss character in the first area before the first boss that took me like an hour to beat. But other than that, like every enemy you can like beat in 2 hits and they're very slow and you're like you're just like crushing them. Like, is this game a lot easier than Dark Souls? Is what I'm thinking as I'm going through it. And then you realize there are no bonfires. You get bonfires, so to speak, when you kill a boss. So the first boss, thankfully, you have to unlock the front door to the castle, and then you fight him in like the gatehouse.
So you're able to just create
go from
shortcuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the bonfire thing doesn't become as big a deal if you're able to get shortcuts. Okay.
But there's no shortcut to the second boss, though it's not a long run per se.
Okay.
There's no shortcuts to the third boss, which I would call it the third boss, which is the first boss, the second world. Anyway, I think adding bonfires was a good idea.
Sure.
In Dark Souls.
That's the thing that I had heard is, I've a couple of the YouTubers that I follow, they've done some pieces talking about Demon Souls and whatnot. And, they've talked about how, you can see so much of the foundation of what Dark Souls, would become from that game, And some of a couple of them, had never played the Demon Souls before because it's not as nearly widely accessible.
Right, it's on PS3 only.
Yeah, right.
Until now. PS5, yeah.
Right, but yeah, it's been interesting to see them play it and because from what I understand, the remaster, the team that did it, changed very, very little
in terms of gameplay. That's absolutely true. However, they did like rebuild the entire game from scratch.
Right.
Which it looks amazing.
Exactly.
It's the best looking game I've ever played.
It's kind of like, what they did with the like the Crash Bandicoot trilogy and Spyro.
The true remakes
exactly.
instead of remasters.
I've heard people describe it as it's like playing that old game with your nostalgia.
Yeah.
So like if you played the Spyro games, as a kid, and you play these remasters, in your mind it's just like, this feels exactly like how I remember it, and it looks kind of how you felt it looked at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool to that's when I feel like a remaster just really nails it.
Yeah. You compare like the remakes of like Spyro, Crash, and Demon Souls to like a remaster of Assassin's Creed 2 or whatever.
Right.
That game, was reported to look worse than the original. How do you manage that? And,
I really don't know.
They introduced bugs where like their faces would be like just horrific. Like
I remember the pictures of that
things. Yeah.
That's Ubisoft.
Yeah, nailed it. So right now I think a lot of gamers with a Z out there are hoping that Bluepoint, which is who remade Dark Souls or Demon Souls, is gonna remake like Bloodborne. And I mean, like, you don't need a remake of 2 because it sucks.
No.
And you don't need a remake of 3 because it looks pretty good and it's got no FPS cap, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
So like it runs really well on PS5, I've heard.
Okay. Yeah, Bloodborne. Granted, it is an older game, now because it came
7 years old.
Yeah, it came out at the very beginning of the PlayStation 4's life cycle, but still, the idea of doing a remaster of Bloodborne. Usually, when you think about a remaster, you think about a game that maybe came out during, I don't know, PS1 to maybe 3 era.
Sure. Yeah, except Bloodborne has like it does have that FPS cap of 30.
Right.
So and it can get a little janky in areas.
I suppose, yeah.
So I think a lot of us would be very happy if we got a 60 FPS version. I mean, if you think about it, Dark Souls 1 got remade like 2 years ago, or remastered 2 years ago. And Bloodborne's like 2 years older,
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a pretty fair point now.
So, maybe we'll see a new Bloodborne, but Demon Souls, I tell you, like, it's there's some things I love about it and some things that I'm like, this is hard, but at least I'm not playing Crash Bandicoot right now. That soul form thing, it's so hard to find the item that you get back to human form, and then once you die, you lose it again. And it's like you can't summon help unless you're in human form, and so like it's extremely precious, these blue ephemeral eyes or whatever they're called, and but like another difference that I've read about a little bit is that Demon Souls has a lot more puzzle bosses than Dark Souls does.
What would that be?
The older the series gets, there's less puzzle bosses, and so like, it's when instead of just like having like a massive or small enemy that you need to dodge their attacks and attack them back and just do regular straightforward damage, there's like a trick to beating them somehow. So for the second boss, if you want to call him that, for the Tower Knight in Demon Souls, like, it's sort of a puzzle boss. It's not as much as like the one I fought in Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, there's like an invincible one-tapping enemy that it turns out you have to like just dodge his hands and then go like unplug some weird little roots that he's connected to, and if once you unplug all three, he dies. So he's actually like one of the easiest bosses once you figure that out.
If you know the thing.
Yeah.
Sure. I could see how that would be immensely frustrating, though, just given how you were kind of describing how, since the game doesn't have bonfires, you know, if you have to go up against a puzzle boss, you know, you could go through the trouble of backtracking and finding your way back to the boss, and then to beat your head against the wall to find out, you know, what the trick is.
Right.
At least if in a more conventional boss fight, you know, if you make the trek back, and you're
making incremental progress.
Exactly, you just do the fight. That's actually one of the things that I really enjoyed about, you know, Fallen Order, which, you know, has its Souls-like kind of elements. You know, they were really good about placing checkpoints, or, you know, their equivalent of bonfires.
Yeah.
Right next to where the boss would be.
Yeah.
You know, because when it got time for me to do the final boss, I probably, I'd say I maybe had to try it 10-ish, maybe more times. And that would have been just an extreme pain in the ass if I had to, you know, trek my way halfway through the level.
Yeah. The first Dark Souls, the final boss, has like a 3-minute walk. It's stupid. It feel like I'm probably exaggerating, but it's
what it feels like when you're playing it.
But like the final. Thankfully, by the time you get to the final boss, he's not hard compared to some of the bosses in the earlier game. But like. Yeah, no, the Tower Knight was annoying. That's the second boss in Demon Souls. And that, like I said, he's sort of a puzzle boss. The first thing you gotta do, and it's not mandatory, but you really got it, is you gotta kill these crossbowmen. There's like 8 crossbowmen that are shooting at the arena. Okay. So you just run up the stairs and you go one by one, you're like, stab. And that takes you a couple minutes, and then you can go back and fight the boss. And so if the boss one taps you or something, then you're like, I gotta go back and kill those crossbow guys again, and I gotta run back to fight him. But like you, rather than like attack, he's so huge, you just fight his ankles. You just fight his ankles until he falls over, and then you attack his head. You know.
Yeah, so that's like, just classic boss stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
right. So
I can't even begin to think how many boss fights have consisted of me just wailing on the back of some giant monster's foot.
Yeah, or you like attack their hands or something.
Exactly. Yeah, like, and they move just like,
yeah.
No, my hand is on the thing. Don't you hit my fingernails, you son of a bitch.
Right.
Ah!
Have you noticed I have eyes on the bottom of my palms? You know.
Yeah. Please, I hope no one hurts them.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's pretty wacky.
So, granted, this is coming from someone who has very little Dark Souls or just Souls-like experience, but just based on the kind of stuff that you've described to me over your time playing with them.
I basically just complained for 10 minutes just now, about Demon Souls.
Well, like, so, Demon Souls and then the Dark Souls trilogy, and Bloodborne, they all kind of tackle things, like all of them have a somewhat similar, like, core formula.
Yep.
But each of them kind of seems to tackle it in a bit of a different way. So then, exactly. So then, for you, for Jeff Ross, which of the, just like the core, like Souls games, what had the best combination for you? Like, what felt the best to play?
Bloodborne's my favorite one.
Bloodborne? Yeah.
Dark Souls 1 and 3 are both like 5-star games.
Yeah.
But Bloodborne is like a 5-star game with like the coolest setting and story. And it also has no tank build. which is actually a complaint for some people who are wrong. It's like in Bloodborne, there's like you can either build like a strength build or a dex build, dexterity, and you fight fast or you have a giant sword or whatever.
Sure.
There's also like I don't think there's a ton you can do with the magic stuff in Bloodborne. But in Dark Souls, you could have like a tank build where like you just keep building up like your ability to wear thicker armor, and you block every attack, and or you could be like a faith build or like a magic build, or like I said, the dexterity or strength and stuff.
Sure.
So and I'm not like the ultimate expert, and I haven't done all of these types of builds, but in Bloodborne, they're like, screw it. The only way you're gonna beat this game is if you dodge attacks, and they include a shield in the game as a joke in Bloodborne.
That's funny.
It's like the wooden shield, and it doesn't work, I guess.
Huh. Well, then what about Sekiro? Does Sekiro have any of the build stuff?
No. And I've barely played Sekiro, so maybe it would be my favorite if I played more of it.
Sure.
But it's more like you're always going to be a samurai.
Right.
And I think you can have... I mean, there's like... In that game, you have this... Like... You got this arm... And it's a prosthetic arm that you can like attach an axe to or like a grappling hook. Well, you always have the grappling hook, but like you can have little shurikens instead of the axe or a flamethrower. Those are what I've found in like the first hour and a half of the game or whatever. Okay. And so I think you can try to like brute force your way through some of the tankier enemies, but most of the time it's like... you definitely have to like parry attacks and like dodge attacks instead of blocking everything. It's more of like a samurai duel simulator, than like a typical Dark Souls game. Right. It's definitely the weirdest of the most unique
of the
Soulsborne of the Miyazaki games.
Right.
Dark Souls 2, I'm looking at you. Miyazaki was too busy. He was like an EP instead of like a director of that game. He was working on Bloodborne at the time.
Sure.
So yeah, that's why, in my opinion, that's why it's probably not as fun as the other games.
Sure. That's one of the things that has always kind of turned me off from some of the Souls games is the whole way of structuring a build.
Sure.
Because the game really does not tell you that much about that kind of stuff. So you are better off to maybe kind of do some research before you start playing about that kind of stuff, which typically when I start a game I try to look into it as little as possible. So my times that I've played Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne, I've had just zero idea, of what I'm doing with the build. And just like, that's a thing that I have in RPGs, in general. Anything that has just like, a lengthy thing of, taking you out of the game to, just kind of manage things like a build is just... That gets to be a bit too tedious for me. And that's another thing that I've really come to enjoy about Ys is like, it's all very minimal.
Yeah.
It's just the game is like razor focused on just, keeping you involved in the gameplay.
I think that
I suppose that was also something that Fallen Order did that I really liked. It had a skill tree, but it was one of the really best put together skill trees that I've experienced because, it opened up to you gradually and it worked in the way that, like as you put more stuff into the skill tree, you were able to know more about the game. And so like I don't know, and it fit really seamlessly, like into the core aspect of the game.
Uh, yeah, Sekiro has a skill tree.
Okay.
It's more akin to Fallen Order than any of the other games, I think.
Okay.
But like, personally, sometimes I find skill trees annoying.
That's valid.
Like, they're very common now in games, and like I want to. I like it when my character gets stronger over time, but I want to not feel like I'm missing out when I'm like not picking something.
Right.
But in terms of the build stuff for the Soulsborne games, just to comment on that for a second, like I feel like it doesn't take you out of the game to.
Sure.
It is like a little confusing at first to be like, what does DEX stand for or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
right.
And then you basically just have to like see which stats go up if you like level up or like pretend to level like before you confirm it or whatever. So like, okay, so my proficiency with like the chain sword is better than if I do this. I think like the first time you and I played Dark Souls was the first time both of us played. Well,
yes,
the first time I seriously played Dark Souls.
Right.
I did try it and then like screw up or whatever. But like once you figure out that like there's only the trick to building a build in that game is really just pick 3 stats and only build those up.
Right.
It's really it's not like a complicated issue at all.
Sure.
Like you typically raise your health, you raise your stamina, and then you pick, do I want to be a smarter guy, do I want to be a stronger guy or a faster guy or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, no, and I've been thinking about this as we talk about frickin' Soulsborne games again. I'm like, it's got to be one of the most like impactful series in the last 10 years, easy.
Sure. Well, yeah, you've seen now so many just
Souls-like games.
Yeah. It's basically it's not very common where a game or a series shows up that basically creates its own genre.
Yeah.
Or genre.
As Alex Trebek would say.
Rip. But like, yeah, I mean, even like again, going back to Fallen Order, you know, it has, I mean, it's got a few different kind of genres going on in the same game, but yeah, the combat is very Souls inspired.
Yeah.
You know, and there's, you know, plenty of other games that have done it, though. From what I have kind of seen, Fallen Order seems to be the biggest example of, you know, like a AAA developer doing this. You know, most of the time that I've seen games that aren't Miyazaki games go for the Souls like genre, like they're not necessarily indie studios, but they're like kind of those middle studios.
Yeah, they're making like AA games instead of
AA. Yeah. But this, like, Fallen Order was the first time that I encountered a AAA game that, you know, wasn't directly connected to the Souls games.
Yeah.
Go for that style.
Yeah, you know, it's like you got games like The Surge or Fallen, or
Lords of the Fallen.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Both were games that we got for free through PS Plus at some point, and I've tried neither of them.
There's like the indie games that are inspired by it, like Salt and Sanctuary,
or Blasphemous.
Yeah, even like you get games that borrow just like the Souls mechanic, basically.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You got like Hollow Knight is inspired by the Dark Souls games a little bit, but it makes me think of like that concept that Cracked Video put a video about, and that was that core game thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Have we ever talked about core games on this podcast?
I honestly don't know.
Um, Demon Souls is a core game, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a game that other games kind of like borrow invented mechanics from.
Sure.
And I'm waiting. You know, it's always cool when a new one comes out. You know, like GTA 1 is a core game, for example, or like Assassin's Creed 1.
Yep. Just like these games that pop up that just kind of like define, you know, what kind of games we'll be seeing in the future.
Right.
Like so many open world games that we've encountered now, you know, are all, or not all, but, you know, are usually taking things from like Assassin's Creed or Grand Theft Auto, you know?
Right.
And they almost kind of, Grand Theft Auto in particular, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but Grand Theft Auto basically kind of wrote the book on what most like crime games would feel like.
Yeah. Absolutely. A lot of these open world games will have like the concept of like a quest giver, you know, that is out there standing waiting for you to like take or like start a cinematic mission.
Yeah.
Versus like an open world game more like the Elder Scrolls or something where the quest giver will be like, somewhere out in the world there's a tower and
right.
I left my ring there.
Could you grab it for me?
Yeah. So it's cool to see like these core mechanics, these like really inventive mechanics. Like I keep thinking about the first Arkham Asylum game, Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, that's a core game.
Yeah, you know, it especially the combat in that game, you know, with the rhythm-based counter mechanics and stuff like that. That you end up with like Shadow of Mordor borrows from that game a lot, and
then
like,
pretty much most of the Spider-Man games that we've seen, have borrowed from it. We'll have to do an episode about the Batman games at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are fantastic.
Yeah, that was a great, I mean, a great trilogy and also a great prequel to the trilogy.
Arkham Origins.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Those games are lovely.
Absolutely.
So, what do you think? Is there a game that's come out in the last few years that you feel like is a core game, like that's going to we'll see clones of, or I just don't think I can think of one. You know, like
no,
maybe even like indie games too. You know, like maybe in some of those there's something that we see these games inspired from, but like Loop Hero just came out, and I know I talked a little bit about that. I've heard the game described as indescribable. It's just to refresh you a little bit, it is an auto battler roguelite with both camp building and environment building and deck building mechanics. So yeah, there's a lot in there.
It's an example of yes and game design. Just like, you know, I like all this stuff. Let's put it in here.
Yeah, I have never played an auto battler before.
Me either, really. There's games that I've played that feature an auto battle system. Like both Trails of Cold Steel and Yakuza 7 have them in it, but it's not what the combat system is built around.
Yeah. So like as the player, you know, you're setting up the mobs, like spawners, like the cocoons for spiders instead of like choosing to attack or whatever. And I know I talked about that a little bit before, but I think that we can probably see some more of that in the future.
Yeah, I know. Like thinking about it, you know, I can't say that I've encountered anything that I would describe as, what might be a core game in the future. I mean, the games that I've played recently, they might be doing things different than have always been done, but you can still kind of see where they derive some of their stuff from.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like even playing the remake of Final Fantasy VII, it's so different in so many ways from its source material. And I've really not played a combat system that's really like it.
Okay.
But there's these portions, like those kind of long portions where it's very linear with maybe some light puzzle solving, but it's mainly just kind of opportunities for like some building on character relationships, and also frankly to pad out the length of the game. And that kind of thing reminds me of games like, well, more recent Naughty Dog games like Uncharted or Last of Us, where you've got those portions where it's just you guys just chilling, walking. It's kind of like their world building portions.
Okay.
But yeah, or like I'll play games that I myself personally haven't experienced anything like them before.
Yeah.
But they've either been around for a really long time and I just am late to the party in playing them, or it's just something that I have just been unfamiliar with.
I get that. Yeah.
I can't even think of a time that I've probably the last time I've kind of been on like the ground floor for like kind of a core game experience was probably Arkham.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, right. Just being there when it came out,
Yeah, and getting to observe just all of the kind of trends in gaming that kind of shifted and morphed in accordance to what it did, just because it worked so well and received so much praise.
I don't know. I mean, there's myriad games to pick from that are like inspired by like Assassin's Creed or something.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
that. Itself, it's inspired by like Prince of Persia, which is inspired by the like most. I think Prince of Persia would be a good example of a core game, but that involved like it didn't invent the 3D camera or like action third person battles or anything like that. So like that borrows from like Mario 64,
sure,
technically, and that's like maybe that game is like a super core game or something.
The innermost core game.
Yeah. But it's I guess to bring it back to the Soulsborne stuff, I'm happy to see that Miyazaki evolved his concepts from Demon Souls into Dark Souls, and I'm happy that he evolved that into Bloodborne, and I'm looking forward to the Elden Ring.
Right, because like, am I remembering it right? And like, they're kind of collaborating with George R.R. Martin.
Yeah,
on that? That's going to be wild.
Yeah, absolutely. Martin is writing the story for the new Elden Ring game, and
very cool.
No wonder it's taken so long to come out.
Burn.
But we'll see. What the future holds for Soulsborne games, and because Dark Souls, there's not going to be a Dark Souls 4. It's supposed to be a closed trilogy.
Oh, really? Okay. That's cool.
It's but there's still people out there who are like, Bloodborne 2, where is that?
I hear people talk about that every once in a while.
Yeah. Like, I remember when they, like, the initial trailer for Sekiro came out, like, people were like, there was teasers and stuff like that, before even the first trailer, and they're like, is this Bloodborne 2? Has the time arrived?
Nope.
Not yet.
Not quite.
Yeah. But I don't know. I are you looking forward to seeing where any of these new what's the word, innovations go? Like, even, the Miyazaki stuff has spread to, like, Fallen Order, like you said. So I hope that they make a new Jedi Fallen Order 2 or something like that. I do too.
And when we do the episode of that, we could probably speculate as to what might happen.
Sure.
Because it's interesting, and again, we won't get too much into it, but, like, that period of time between the prequel and original trilogy is really interesting, because it's like there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can tell in that period of time, but at the same time, how much of it can be consequential.
Exactly. Like, because the Empire still exists at the start of the fourth.
Yeah. So despite, having these really cool things that happen in between the trilogies, whether it's Rogue One or Rebels, Fallen Order, all kinds of stuff, you realize it's just like, well, whatever your guys' mission was, you didn't do a very good job.
Yeah. Suck it, Cal. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know, that, and the Mandalorian fits in that time space as well.
Even though that's technically, that's after the Orig Tridge.
I thought that the first season was in between, though.
I don't think so, no. I think it's always been after the Orig Tridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least maybe part of it ran alongside it.
Yeah, I don't know. Shows what I know. Star Wars super fan here.
Maybe if you finished reading that comic, you would have known.
Shame.
All right, now here, before we bring this up to a close, I have a question for you. So, like we've kind of talked about in this episode and also in the previous one, you went through quite a bit of effort to get this most recent console and to kind of take your first steps into what's going to be the next, or now current gen, I suppose. So, out of all the game generations that there have been, which one would you say you were the most excited to get into?
Like the console generation?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I can give my answer first if you want time to kind of cultivate yours.
By all means.
All right. For me, I think probably the generation I was most excited to get into was probably like the PS3, Xbox 360 era.
Yeah.
Because, for one, that was the first console I was able to really buy with my own money.
Okay.
And it was at that point where, like we've kind of talked in previous things, I was able to kind of have the most control into, kind of the games that I was going to be, looking into. And it was also around that time when I was actually able to start playing like rated M games and whatnot. And we were, and it also feels like this was right around the time when I would feel like games were really kind of starting to go into a bunch of interesting directions. So like PS3, Xbox 360, whatever generation that is, that was probably the time that I was like just most excited to get in on the ground floor.
I remember one of our friends had a PS3 before anybody else, and it seemed like, well, first off, it was the most expensive console ever.
Yeah.
And it, but anyway, it just like, it seemed like he owned a supercomputer now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
And we all would go to his place after school and be like, oh my god, just watch him
so
play
real.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Incredible.
Incredible.
And
to be fair though, I've seen your PS5 now. It looks like a supercomputer.
It looks like a supercomputer.
Yeah, like it really has that futuristic look, and it's fucking enormous.
It is huge.
It's an absolute unit of a console.
It's gonna break my TV stand.
Probably.
I'm happy that the cat doesn't have room to climb on it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, like Johan used to climb on my PS4, but because there was space between the PS4 and the TV, and then now I put the PS5 in that spot because it deserves to be on the highest shelf.
It does indeed.
And now Johan is like just looking at the side of it like,
He's trying to figure out how to open the thing to get the disc out of it. He knows how to open the disc tray for your PS4.
Yeah, he is. He touches the front of the PS4. I was playing with Call of Duty just a week or so ago, and he turned off the PS4 in the middle of the freaking session. And
you're done, Jeff. It's time to go to bed and cuddle me. We have things to do.
Oh my gosh, to answer your question though, I have reviewed how I felt about these different, and I definitely the N64 generation was the one that I was the most envious of, or the most excited to enter, playing, because I was certainly late to the party comparatively in that time, and it's I was just a kid. My parents were in charge of buying consoles and stuff like that. And so I remember like cracking the door into my mom's room while she was trying to sleep in the middle of the day, and I'm like, "Mom, can we buy an N64?" And she finally relented at and she's like, "Okay, go tell your dad and go to Walmart or whatever, and I'm so embarrassed, but I walked out of the house and said "yabba dabba doo" on the front porch. It was more. I think the exact words were "yabba doo, ha ha." It was. And I did not contain myself whatsoever.
That's
my mom
amazing.
could definitely hear me from her room from the front porch. So,
oh my god.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So that's clearly the one that I was most excited to.
Yeah, you didn't create your own. Well, I don't know. Did you walk out onto your porch and yell anything when you when you were able to get your PS5?
No. Just the sadness of adulthood is so different than the happiness of childhood. Just like when I bought a PS5, I'm like, cool. I guess I'll text a couple people. Hey, I got a PS5 ordered. Should be here in a couple weeks at the latest. Back to bed. I legit went back to nap. So. Compared to the getting that, and just like that 3-dimensional shift, playing, being barely able to comprehend how you play Mario 64 compared to how easy it is to play Super Mario World or whatever.
Right.
Just it's such a change to play to go to the N64 era.
Definitely was the upgrades from one gen to another have slowly gotten smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
As time has gone on. So definitely, PlayStation 1 and 64, that era, easily is probably the most just
the biggest
awe-inspiring.
Yeah. Even you compare, it is a big jump, but from NES to Super Nintendo, it's not changing dimensions,
right.
You double your graphical capability maybe, but
games look better, maybe run a little bit better, but unless games start going into the fourth dimension, we really won't have that next.
Well, that's what they're trying to do with VR is get that off the ground, but we'll see if that... have you been interested in the VR scene?
Not really. I mean, there's some cool stuff that they've done with it, but where it's at right now, to me, largely still kind of constituted. It's just like, ooh, look at this.
It's a novelty.
It's a novelty, yes, thank you. Like, it's really cool, and I think in the future, it's going to be, like, fantastic, and it's probably where the industry could go. But, when we had this most recent thing of it, like, oh yeah, VR is really getting there. Yeah. Not quite.
Right.
It's going to be cool, but I've not really had the desire to get, like, a VR headset or anything,
It just doesn't seem like it's worth the price of admission, right?
No, not really. Not yet, at least. Yeah. I've yet to see anything that shows up that it's like, okay, yes, this is why I want to do this.
No killer app.
No.
And I think about that with the new generation. Like, the PS5 has its killer app, and that's a remake of a PS3 game.
Right.
And, I played it, and I'm like, can't wait for Guilty Gear Strive to come out.
Yeah.
Keep, looking for new games to play on PS5. I'm like... I'm scratching my head over here. I'm like, am I gonna buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla just to have another PS5 game? But it's like I definitely I'm an early adopter of the new generation, and it's because I felt like they're, I may as well just keep throwing my darts at the tiny ass dartboard and see if I can land a PS5.
Yeah, yeah.
And like now that
now that you've got your bullseye.
Yeah, I'll wait for the points to settle in eventually, but
Word.
There's certainly, if you're not a Demon Souls, Dark Souls fan, there's not a huge rush to get a next gen console.
Right. Yeah, that's why we're still waiting, I mean, I'd like to probably have one by the time Strive comes out, but if we don't, we don't.
Right, that delay happened,
it did.
It was going to come out on the 9th of April. Now it's the 11th of June. And
just gives me all the more time to hopefully snag one.
Yeah, I saw that Amazon was stocking 45,000 PS5s or something like that, which is insane.
Right.
So you could nab one maybe.
It's possible. But, we might have to give it a shot. Because we ate the cereal that had the sweepstakes for the PS5, and I don't think we entered. So.
Oh no. But, thinking about that killer app terminology, the real killer app for Xbox Series X seems to be the Game Pass.
Yeah.
Just being able to play 100 different games for $10 a month or whatever.
I mean, Game Pass is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. Still, I can't say I've really gotten too much out of it yet, but I will.
Yeah, but even that is available on PC, so it's there's still nothing no reason to buy an Xbox. I'm sorry, Microsoft. Please don't take away the vaccine from me. Just for saying that, but yeah, no. So to wrap it up, We'll see what the future holds.
Absolutely.
For the next gen and for these core games and killer apps. But I think that's going to do it for this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for now, that kind of wraps it up. You can probably expect our episode going into Fallen Order probably coming out next week as opposed to, a couple of weeks out from now. So yeah, until then, Jeff, thanks again for a lovely chat about video games.
Yeah, I had fun. Thanks for chatting, and thanks for listening, listener.
Indeed, yeah. So hope everyone's doing well. Stay safe over these next few weeks. And we'll all see you next time.
Have a good one. Bye.